Welcome. Welcome back to my channel Conquer the Fear. In this video, specifically we are going to discuss about the five features, the five things every developer should know about the string class. Now string class being the root class, and this is one of the most used class in the applications in Java. So whenever you go for an interview, this particular string related interview questions are definitely asked. Either you will have some coding questions, either you will have at basics questions to be asked or revolving around it, so that you try to get confused or you for asking different set of questions around it. So let us begin with understanding what exactly this particular string class is about. Okay. So before writing this, let me write a main class. Now, if you take a look at this particular string class, first of all, you will notice that this is a package java.lang.package. Now, this is the default package. So let me show you the class itself. Okay. So let me create one sample. Okay. Now if you take a look at this, right, now if you take a look at this class, okay, so very first thing is that it is part of the java lang, okay, package. And then you will see there are different implementation, that is, I mean, it is implementing different interfaces. One is serializable, one is comparable and constant. Then you see the constable, that is when using the care sequence, and one is the constant description. Okay, so these are the things which are using. And also if you take a look at this, there are a lot of different constructor, there are a lot of different methods which are used. Okay, so these are all helper methods which are revolving around string. Okay, so coming to the point, okay, I would like to showcase in this particular video the five features or the five lesser known things about the strings, and most frequently asked in the interview questions. Okay, so let us first go with, so let me write okay, so let me first go with the string literal parts. Okay, so you must have heard this particular concept. Okay, so how are these particular string literals are stored in the string pool? Okay, what is this particular string pool? Okay, and how it is behaving. Okay, so let's us demonstrate that particular thing. So let us create two string objects over here. Okay, so let's say I am creating string 1. Let's say I'm giving, let's say, ram over here. Okay, let's say I'm also creating another string 2, so that is, let's say, Sita. Okay, or let me give ram only. Okay, but if you see, look at this, these are two different objects when it comes to the variables. Okay, but there is a deep inside thing when it comes to string, right? There is an internal thing which is going on inside the string literals, that is under the string pool, literal pools. Okay, okay, there is a string pool which is going to store this particular element. Okay, now in order to tell you, or in order to prove my point, okay, so here what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to, let's say, uh, okay, let's say I'm printing the first string literal part. Okay, now here what I'm trying to do, I will try to addition over here. I will just see, okay, in the bracket I will just see that string s1 is equal to s2 or not. Okay, so whether this particular thing is returning true or not, we'll check it. Okay, now ideally string is going to, as this two different object, ideally it should have been different, right? Now let me run this and show you what it happens. Okay, now you see that the answer is true. Now the information or the exact root cause is about the string pool. Okay, so what is happening over here is that string pool, whenever you create this particular first object or a string literals over here, this is going to get stored in the string pool. Okay, so the next time whenever anybody is going to create the same string, this is going to point to that particular thing. Okay, so this is going to refer to the same first one only. That is the reason this is showing as true. Okay, now let's say if I am going to create, let's say Sita over here. Okay, and I rename it as 3. Okay, okay, and if I try to create it over here, let's say I'm going to compare this with 3. Okay, now definitely this is going to be a false over here because the content itself is different, and also this cannot be pointing to that because the name is different, and also this will create a separate object inside the string pool. Okay, so that is very first concept, the string literal concept, under the string pool. Okay, which are stored in the string pool. Let us discuss the second point, that is how string objects are created with the help of the new keywords that are not exactly the string pool. Okay, which are not being in the string pool basically. So let's say I'll just rename this to string objects. Okay, now the way to create a string is very normal. How it is normally being created, let's say I'm making use of string 4 over here. Now you have to just call the new string and one of the constructor. Okay, so let's say I'm passing, okay, let's say Ram over here. Okay, now you see here what I'm trying to do is, I'm here, if you see, I'm creating the same thing over here, right? So this is how it is going to create that new string. Now let us try to compare this. Okay, and see what is the outcome. Okay, whether it is different or not, we'll see. Okay, now I'm comparing this string. This is Ram, this is also Ram, right? Ideally it should give you same or true, right? Let's see the output. Now you see this is throwing, or this is showing as false over here. Why? Because this new whatever we are going to do, okay, this is going to be created in a different location and not in a string pool. Okay, so whatever the literals you are trying to create it, it will be created as an instance, separate instance. Okay, so it is going to be created as a new object and not a string literals. So this is one thing actually most of the developer are not aware of it. They usually think that this particular thing and this particular thing are going to be the same thing and it will return true, because sometime what happens, this is coming as a multiple choice output question. This is a time, this is sometime the interviewer may ask you, placing these things like what is the difference, what is the outcome. Okay, so here people get confused over here. Okay, so what happens, so ideally the name is same doesn't mean that it is going to be stored, because this is literal part and this is the object part. So these are, they have their own memory location to be stored up. Okay, so that is the reason it is not same. Okay, then let us try to understand with respect to string, it is called immutable class. Okay, now you must have heard of the immutable concept with lot of people, right? So what happens is that this has got a very high weightage when it comes to the interview. People expect basic understanding of immutability, and also the very first thing that comes to our mind when it comes to immutability is string itself. Okay, so string class itself is an example of an immutability. Okay, where if you take a look at this particular class, one thing to note over here is final class. Okay, So this itself is not going to allow you to extend and do the implementation. If I try to, let's say, okay, if I try to create an extend, okay, now if you see, this is not going to allow, you cannot inherit this thing. Okay, so this is one of the feature that is part of the immutability, where you not go, you cannot extend and then you write your own functionality, so that it is going to be unmutable, right? So that is the reason it is marked as final. Okay, and whatever the references inside these things are going to be referred, it can be changed up, but the original objects or the objects whichever it is going to refer is going, it might change, but it is not going to manipulate it or modify in the original. Okay, so let's say I'm creating an original string. Okay, so here I'm trying to create, let's say, Rakesh. Okay, now here if you take a look at this, okay, let me try to print this. Okay, uh, let me make use of this thing and print it over here. So I'm going to name it as 3, and then let's say I'm talking about immutability. So okay, so I will name it as an immutability. Now one thing to note over here is that there is one method called index hash code, identity hash code method. Okay, so here I will pass the original string over here. Now let me run this and show you first, to just to showcase you what exactly it is trying to do. It is going to give you the hash code. Okay, so it is going to return the same hash code of the given object as it would have written by default method of the hash code. Okay, so whether that object, particular object class overrides hash code or not, this is going to give you that particular thing. Okay, now let me do one thing. I am going to uh, now this original string, I'm going to make the changes as modified over here. Okay, now let me try to print it again over here. I'm going to print the second time over here. Okay, let me try to print this. Now let's see what would be the output, whether it is going to be the same or different. You have to tell me. Okay, here if you see, it is totally different. Okay, now even though this particular variable is same, now earlier it was, the object was the list string, it was created in the string pool and it was pointing to Rakesh. But now the moment I assign a different value to it, the reference is changed from Rakesh to Rakesh modified. Okay, so this will be intact, there will be no modification. Hence, that is the reason once that particular string object or literal is created, you cannot modify the things. So let's say I am referring to one thing, only the reference can be modified. So now the reference is modified from this to this now. Okay, the only the pointer is changed, the object still exists over there until it is being garbage collected. So this will be still existing, you cannot modify once it is created. So that is the reason it is called immutability. Okay, so this is the fact, or this is the feature of which is comes with the string itself, right? And there is lot of things to be learned when it comes to string. Okay, so if you walk through this particular class, you will see lot of things to learn how to write that particular thing. Okay, now let's discuss the fourth thing is concatenation. Now whenever you are going to deal with concatenation, okay, so what you can do, let's say if I'm trying to create some, let's say, string 5. Okay, over here let's say I'm trying to create sample. Okay, now what I will do over here, let's say I'm creating str, or let's say I'm going to create another string literals, let's say 6. Okay, Now here what I will do, I will take up the 5 element plus I'm going to add delta over here and then print it. Now if you take a look at this, okay, now here what I'm trying to do is I will compare these two objects, okay. So str4, or I will say 5, I'm going to check it with the str6, okay. So ideally this is going to be the different, but yeah, the string concatenation, whatever we are doing, the concatenation is something which you are trying to add something over here. Now this is one reference object which is already created in the string literals. Now, the moment you take this and then add it and then, okay, create it, this is going to create a completely new object in the string pool, okay. So let me try to run this and show you, okay. You see it is going to be the different, and in order to prove that as well, what I will do, I will also, showcase you this string literals, okay, hash code, so that this is going to return you a different output, okay. So you see this is going to right, so it is going to show you the different hash code, okay, and then it is going to print that. So understand, like, the it doesn't matter, right, that particular thing, right, it is, if you make the combination of it, still it is going to create it, and then it is going to assign a new string literal on that, okay. Then comes a string, there is a method called strings method that is called intern, okay. So this is one of the method which can move your string object to the string pool, okay. So that is the reason we make use of this particular method. So let's say I'm going to create string, let's say 7, okay. Now here what I'm trying to do, I'm going to create a string with a new object, okay. Let's say I'm creating, let's say int, okay. Now here what I'm trying to do is, here this particular object is created, but it is not going to be created in the pool because I'm going to create that in the memory, right. So here when you create this and when you call the intern method on top of this, this will be available in the string pool, okay. Now let me give you one example, okay. So what this is related to the one which we have just seen some time ago. Now if you see this, and I'm going to create, let's say, the same int object. So you see here with this particular thing and this particular thing is going to be the same thing, but now you tell me the output of this, it was going to be the same, it is going to be the different, okay. So here let's say I'm going to track it, and here let's say I'm passing 7 over here and then 8 over here, okay. So you tell me the output over here, what would be, it will be true or it will be false. This will come as true because, as I mentioned, this particular method's intent is to, get have this particular string object which is created to be available in the string pool list, right. So string pool literals, right. So this is going to be created. So the next time you're trying to create some similar object over here, as with this particular method was already there in the memory of the string pool, this will not create it because this is again we'll try to create it in the string pool only, okay. Now if I say something else as like this, now definitely this is going to be a different object and it is not going to refer, it is going to return false, okay. So these are the 5 important methods or 5 important things that every developer should know about string. What exactly it does internally, why it is called an immutable class, right. So what are the usages, what are the different methods available, what are the different comparison. Now try to make a note of this particular all 5 different scenarios. Go through this video one more time so you get this particular concept very deeply and thoroughly, because if you are a fresher, if you are a person who is literally starting now, these concepts can be literally very confusing. And also whenever you are in front of interviewer, you tend to get confused about, because you have not practically done something to understand the deep functionality of string and how it works internally. Okay, so in order to understand more about string, you just go to this particular class, check out all the methods which are there, try to see, like, what internally it does. Okay, so that get hands on it and understand the string class. Okay, so that's all on this particular video. I hope this video has given you some value. If that is the case, gives with this video a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell icon. Thank you for watching.